That way I don't move it.
Hey everybody, Randy here in Eastwood Garage with another live video on Facebook, YouTube, and at eastwood.com. Today, Matt is going to show you how to do some metal fabrication using a bunch of awesome Eastwood tools. Shrinker stretcher, planishing hammer, panel beater bag and mallets, some specialty hammers and dollies. And we've got videos on about all these products, so if you're into them, if you go to YouTube and just look up Eastwood Shrinker Stretcher or Planishing Hammer, you'll see some videos specifically on that. But I'm going to turn it over to Matt. What do we got going?
Yeah, so we're trying to show you guys what we're working on ahead of time so you guys stick with us. So what I'm going to show you guys how to do is take a flat piece of aluminum, like this, 3003 here, and turn it into that. So this is a little, I guess you call it a bobber style Fender or something like that. Bobber or Café racer style Fender, that's, front or rear. Something that's a good project if you guys are just starting out and you want to learn a metal shaping project. This is a good one to do it because it teaches you how to control the metal, and you kind of get to use all the different tools. So I'm going to start with this flat piece of metal. We'll show you guys the first steps, and we're going to take you guys a part way through the process because we're trying to keep these short little bite-sized videos. So I'm going to take you part way through the process, and then we'll pick up in a future video and kind of finish it out a little further.
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Part two is next Wednesday. So if you tune in next Wednesday, you'll see this thing getting finished. And we'll go to Scott right now. How about that? So if you have any questions, Scotty C's over there. I'll probably go over and actually hang out with him some today. See what he's up to, see how he does answering questions. Because he claims he's never been stumped. So
it's always trying. And also, speaking of metal shaping, if any of you guys are in anywhere near our Pottstown location, coming up May 20th and 21st, we're going to have Gene Winfield here doing some classes for metal shaping. So if you want to be able to sign up, check out our Facebook page, or not Facebook page, our actual
check out Eastwood.com.
Eastwood.com.
Check out Eastwood.com. Gene Winfield. Everybody, he's going to be here May 20th and 21st. You can sign up for a class. He's, what, 90?
Yeah, I think he's 90, and Gene is, I'm going to be helping out in the class, as I always do, as well. So if you guys have Eastwood questions, I can pretty much answer all of them.
And
we
he
do
does not seem like a 90-year-old.
No, heck yeah, that guy, he works.
It'll probably be a 10, 12-hour class?
Yeah, it's usually 10 to 12 hours a day. So you guys, I mean, this isn't a quick little 1 hour class. So definitely give the store a call and you can sign up for that one. Also, if you're closer to Ohio, later this summer we're going to be doing one in our Parma, Ohio store as well. So yeah, definitely check that out. Should be fun. So I got this piece of metal cut here, rough cut in, and I'm going to try and turn it so you guys can see. So what I did is I got a center line drawn down this. And if you guys are making one of these, you can, of course, measure a motorcycle, whatever Fender, there we go, you're using to try and get an idea of how big you want it to be. So I have it cut out larger than it needs to be. There's a scribe line here that's kind of faint, but on both sides you can see the scribe line. Also around the top and the bottom, there's the rounded profile of the Fender. So that's eventually what we're going to be going for as far as the overall shape goes. But you always want to leave extra material so that you can work with it. You can hold the piece a little better. And if maybe the shape gets a little bit out of the area that you want it to be, you can have that extra material to work with. So you don't have to be exactly perfect to do that. So I use the center line. The first thing we're going to do is hammer the crap out of it. But obviously on the Fender, we want a shape that has a nice profile to it. So we want the center to be higher than everything else. So I put a center line in so I can focus on hammering in the center and putting the most amount of stretch in there and then work my way out. So I'm going to do a little bit of hammering and make some noise here. So you can see straight away with me hitting on it just in the center there in the spine of it, we've already created a curve the way we want to be going. So you don't necessarily have to worry about shrinking the panel or curving it right away, because just by us stretching the center out, it's going to give it that curve. It just naturally starts pulling it by doing that. So now I got to fill in all this other area and stretch that as well. And what we're doing with the sandbag here is the sandbag has some give to it, and I'm using these nylon hammers that we have. We have them in teardrop and also just a flat face. So what this does, this is soft enough that it's not going to mar the aluminum. And the sandbag actually has some give to it. So when I hammer on it, it allows the metal to stretch into it rather than hitting on a hard surface where it's not going to move as much. So for this area, it's good to use. So as you guys watch, as I walk around this edge, watch what's going to start happening here on this edge where it's my trim material after this trim line. So what that's doing there is, again, it's curving the whole panel. This area is not stretched, so it's starting to bunch up because this area needs to be shrunk. There's too much metal here. It either wants to be stretched and hammered there to balance out what's going on in the rest of it, or for what we're doing, we're actually going to want to shrink these areas. So I'm going to hit on the other side, get this other side doing the same thing, and then we'll work it a little more. All right, so we got, starting to look like a potato chip.
And a lot of people are probably just joining us
Yes.
because of all the action. So if you're just joining us, Matt took a flat piece of aluminum and he's going to turn it into this Café motorcycle fender. So you see how nice and smooth this is?
Yeah.
He built this last week, and at one point it looked just like
Yeah.
that there. So yeah, so between this live and the one next Wednesday, you're going to see it go from that to this.
Yeah, so this is, don't get scared. That's probably the biggest thing when you first start out is you start hammering on it. It looks like a mess. That's just part of the process. You got to make it look ugly to get your shape. So don't focus on making it smooth and perfect. Focus on getting the overall silhouette that you're looking for, whatever it takes by hammering on it. So I'm going to work in the center again and do another round. Now to see what's happening is as I'm hammering on it in the center here, we're also picking up a curve. We're getting a curve this way, but it's also curling up the way like we want for the fender. So Joe can kind of show you here with the before and after type deal, but you can see it's getting that side to side. So again, all we're doing is stretching it, and by the way I cut the pattern out, it's already giving us, it's starting to give us that silhouette by just hammering it in one motion. So I'm going to keep going here. And now I'm going to fill in on these sides and just hammer it a little more. So what I'm trying to do is hammer and just kind of fill all these marks in and get everything kind of at the same plane. So even though it's lumpy, we're trying to get it all the same. If you look at the reflection in the panel, we're trying to get all these hits kind of on the same plane. We don't want a real heavy low spot or a big area where it's low. I'm trying to hit on it and try and bring that all up. So right in here, I can see already there's a big hollow spot where I just didn't hit the hammer yet. So I need to aim and hit in there and fill that area in. And you can see on this side, where I was showing you that hollow spot. I don't know if I can, the lights make it a little, there we go. You can see right in there. You can see I didn't hit it with the hammer. So, you're looking at the other side, you can see the hollow mark. You look at the panel, and it's telling you what's happening. So we know that we need to focus and definitely at least hit in that area to fill that in. But I'm going to hit the whole panel as well. So I'm going to hit right in there. All right, got a little spot there. So, and don't be afraid to tweak the panel to get it to sit how you want, but we practically already have the curve this way that we need. It needs a little more in the center to give us a peak, but you can see it's already got a similar curve there.
Now, there's 3 mallets sitting here. Are they're for the basic shapes you're going to be?
Yeah,
tighter radiuses on them?
Yeah, or if we need to get in a tight area, we'll use that. Or
because you're basically sticking with the biggest one, right?
Yeah, because
kind of go in a bigger shape.
Well, we just want to move a lot of material quick, so I was trying to use the largest head so I don't have to hit quite as many times. But yeah, you can, whichever one works. But since we're trying to move a lot of metal, this one's also lighter, so we got to swing a lot harder. I'm gonna get tired pretty quick, so we use the big one to get that in there. So what we got here is we have a bunch. We have all this waffled area in here, or like potato chip effect. This is areas that need to be shrunk. So this is telling us there's too much material here, that's why it's all wavy. So what we can do is if we shrink these areas, it will start to pull them tight, and it'll also start to give us the curve that we want going this way. So some of these larger shrinks, there's a couple ways you can do it. Some of these larger shrinks, they're a little too big to just do in the shrinker stretcher. We're working in aluminum, so I don't like to use the shrinker stretcher excessively. It is good to use if you want to move it quick, especially if you're trimming it off, it doesn't matter. But some of these real big shrinks that go up into here, that's going to be up into our pretty area here, so we don't want to necessarily go that far. So what you need to do is actually do a tuck shrink using a hammer, so you're going to fold it in on itself. So I'm going to do it. You can use a tree stump if you have one, but you can also use this if you're using the plastic mallets. If you're using a metal hammer, you can use a tree stump because the stump's going to be softer, or you can use a dolly like this with the plastic mallets and do the same thing. So I'm going to switch actually to the medium one here.
So you continue to use a round mallet? You wouldn't use a flat one?
For here, it doesn't really matter, but the part is because the piece is bent. If I use the round one, I'm going to end up hitting
a bigger flat spot.
Yeah, and then we're going to dent the panel outwards. So I'm going to try and use the pointed area. And what I do is you're trying to get some of these tucks to actually, I want to accentuate them, if you will. So I know it's scary because you're going to look like you're messing the panel up, but. So we're going to get these, sometimes you can use your hand here to just get them to come together how you want. But see that little tuck right there? I'm hammering on that there to kind of get it to peak and sort of trap it in. And then,
so when you get to an area like this here, you're hitting on, so this is a peak in 2 valleys. You're hitting here, and hitting here, and hitting here, and hitting here, and then eventually in the center till it goes away.
Yeah, so right now I'm just hitting there to try and get it to kind of become a little more pronounced, if you will. And then we can hit down.
And don't be afraid of screwing up, because you can always just put it back in the bag and beat it back out, right?
Yeah, the only thing you got to worry about is with aluminum, it will crack.
Yeah.
So you can re-anneal it if you work it too much. If you have it crack, which happened to us on the other one, just from going back and forth. You got our TIG 200 digital. It's no big deal. You can weld it back up, and that's half the fun. So,
Scott.
Question.
Scott.
Yeah, I mean, we have
any
right
questions?
Somebody asked, they tuned in, what type of aluminum are you working with, or I guess thickness more than anything else?
3003 is the series. The aluminum thickness can match 050, 063, something like that can be used depending on what you're building. Jesus, close up. Depending on what you're using, you can pick the thickness. If you're trying to build something like for a car, where you're making a panel, you want to match it to whatever the car had, so you can actually measure it and check it from there.
Sounds good.
But yeah, 3003 works. That's a common one that you can get. It's a nice softer aluminum. You can anneal it with a torch if you want to get softer. If you're doing a lot of shaping, you can anneal it. We could have annealed this if we really wanted to, but we should be okay. So you can see I got this, I created a higher peak there. And then I'll do a little, some guys do it, some guys don't. You can trap the end there. What that does, it folds a little end down so that it doesn't allow the tuck to kind of let itself out. So I like just doing a little tap there to fold it kind of down on itself. And what that does is I'm hammering here, it doesn't let it just release and let it out. If you hit on it, you can do that. And so I do put that little on the end there, and so what we did was kind of got rid of that. Let me hit on one more time. And what we've done is gotten already just in these sections, I haven't worked them real hard yet, but we could see some of these real big waves are starting to go away. They're at least not as bad. So I got to do a few of these here real quick, and then we'll put it in the wheel and show you smoothing it out a little bit. But I want to get a couple of these tucks going. If you guys have any questions about metal shaping or what we're doing here, drop Scott a comment, and he will be happy to answer them or pass it off to me or Randy. Randy or I. All right. Push the a little bit. All right. All right. So we're going to be going back and forth doing that quite a bit. So this is going to probably take a little while, but I want to show you guys some of the steps. So we're going to do that behind the scenes just to get all of them worked out. I'm probably have an hour or more into doing tuck shrinks and getting it smoothed out to where we want. But I'm going to show you guys an English wheel just to get the shape a little smoother and show us if we want to kind of see where we're at with the shape. You can put in an English wheel. So what you want to do to planish it out, one way to do it is put in the English wheel nice and loose so we can actually slip it in the wheel. And what you're allowing it to do is just take the extreme highs and lows out. And it's not really stretching, it's just taking them out and kind of smoothing them out, telling us where we're at. And Joe, I don't know if you can get in here just to show these guys. This is a good point before I start taking it out. But you can see in here there's little, hopefully you guys can see. No. Why don't I take it out here? So down in here, oh, there we go.
Right there?
Right there. So there's all these little, you can actually see where it's hitting the high spots.
Yeah,
They're
if
like
you
scuffed.
twist it a little bit.
That way?
And maybe back.
Right there is good.
Right there?
Yeah, you can see them where they're hitting.
Yeah, so those little spots you can see they're almost like little scratches, but basically that's where it's starting to crush in all of our high spots. So I have the wheel pretty loose.
Ooh, somebody should have locked the table on. Joe. That was camera guy Joe. Forgot to lock the. I'm sure.
We're going to blame it on Joe. Might have been my fault.
No, it was Joe.
All right. So I'm not putting hardly any pressure on the wheel. We're just trying to smooth everything out. You can stretch at this point with the wheel if you want, but I'm showing you guys how you can smooth it out. Go a little tighter.
Now, did you beat it in the hammer beater, the panel beater bag, to get the general shape for speed?
Yes.
Or could you have made this whole thing in an English wheel?
Yeah, but it would take a real long time because to get the stretch that we need for a Fender like this would be very time consuming. It's possible, yes, definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. You could do it in this, but it takes a long time to get even to where we're at. You might have half an hour or something than what we did in
A couple minutes,
yeah. Spin around.
I wonder if they probably can't even hear us talking now, if we were talking. Is that correct, Dave? You can't hear us really. Dave's our technical director. What's that, Joe? I can hear you. Oh, okay. Okay, so if they can hear us. If you're just joining us, Matt's making a motorcycle fender. Started with the panel beater bag, made the basic shape. It looked like a sack of potatoes.
There we go.
And now he's using it. Then he shrunk the sides, and now we're using English wheel to smooth it out.
Yeah, just trying to see where we're at. We still got a lot more shrinking to do and work to do on the sides, but we're just trying to show you guys a couple of the steps here. So you can see in this center section how much smoother that is than, say, here.
And that's going to have to be shrunk eventually.
Yeah,
well.
But even in here where I didn't roll, it's really still rough. But versus the center, 2-3 minutes, we got that smoothed out, half decent.
Now, I'm going to see if Scott has any questions. If you have any questions, you can post them. And Scott's on the computer taking questions on Facebook and YouTube. So, Scott, do we have any questions right now?
Yeah, there's actually a good one here from Matt right now because he's using the English wheel. Nico's asking if it matters how tight or loose the wheel is when you first start.
Yeah, good question. So when I'm just starting here, I'm planishing. So I don't know, Joe, if you can get down low enough, but there's actually a gap between the wheel here. They're not touching. We're not actually shrinking. All we're doing is just smoothing. So there we go. Yeah, so there's actually, I'll spin this bottom
You can see
or the top wheel. You can
the bottom
see
one's
it,
not
so if
moving.
it was a little tighter like this, it's going to spin both wheels there. So we're actually off the wheel probably a little over material thickness because all I'm trying to do is just take out the crazy highs and lows. Now if you want to tune the shape up a little bit, say you're pretty happy with the crown it has, but you want to go a little bit further but you don't want to have to go through using the wheel, you can tighten it to where it touches and it's actually stretching. Then you need to start paying attention to your tracking so that you're actually rolling. So I'm going to focus, for instance, I definitely want this center higher here. I'm going to start actually moving material here only in the center because I want this center spine, if you will, to have some more crown in it. I can feel there's a little bump there, so I'm wheeling that and you'll feel the bump go away and then you know you got it stretched correctly. So you hear the wheels touch, that means they're actually touching, there's pressure and it's stretching. But I don't know if you guys can see now.
how smooth it is. From what it looked like
There we go.
5 minutes ago.
Higher? Yeah, you can actually see my reflection in it, already. Just in that center section where I was actually stretching and smoothing it, you can already start seeing a reflection in the panel there. You can see my hand in the panel. So that already, just with the wheel, we're getting it nice and smooth. So you got to keep your wheel clean. Make sure you don't have any dirt or debris on it, because it will put marks in this. So I'll smooth this out just a little more. And then I'll show you guys, I'm going to do some tuck shrinks in between the next episode to get it a little further. But I'll get this panel all kind of stretched the same way here.
And this English wheel comes with, all right, it comes with one anvil, a 5-inch anvil, but you can buy, what, 4 or 5 other anvils?
Yeah, I think there's a set of 4 we offer with the some additional ones to get you in a greater...
Different radiuses
Yep.
to match the contours, because what you were saying before we made the one that's on the table is that, you know, if you're making a Fender, it's got a radius like this, you can't use a wide anvil, because
Yeah.
eventually it'll start digging in
on the edges.
on the edges. So you have to get, an English wheel, you have to get the anvil to basically match your basic shape of what you're doing, right?
Yeah, that's very correct. And this one I have in here is already our steepest one that we offer. A little trick you can do is if you're trying the planish and you want to go, we want this to be a little more of a radius than what it is here, like the Fender. And if there's a little trick you can do, say you want to planish like we're doing quickly, but you don't want to put lines in it, what you can do is, I'm going to go in front of the camera. We could take the panel here like this, and don't be afraid to open the panel up a little bit. So what we're doing is we're opening the panel up so that we're not going to hit the edges of the wheel, but then we can get in there and actually, I can smooth this area in here without, because I stayed away. You can even see on this panel, see some of these, there we go. There's some lines in here you're starting to see, like little cuts almost. Not cuts, but they're little tiny lines. I could feel I was getting close to the edge there and I was starting to hit, so I stayed away from that area. If I would have went any further, it would have started to put big lines in it. So now that I've opened the panel up, I can go into this area here safely, and we can planish this area out like this. And we're not going to put lines in it, but we're going to smooth it real quickly like we want. So I can go back over this side and get rid of that real rough stuff here. I'm staying away from the areas we want to shrink because I'm going to be going backwards. If I start running them with the wheel, we're going to actually stretch them, and that's counterproductive. So now I got pretty much the whole top area of the wheel, or of the Fender, that you're going to actually see. I got it smoothed out pretty good here. The top area is nice and smooth. You can see the lights. You see my hand in it too. So it's nice and smooth. It's pretty nice with aluminum. You can get it. You keep it pretty shiny pretty quickly. But you know, I see that smoothed out. So I'll show you guys. Again, we're going to do a bunch of tuck shrinks, but I'm going to show you one thing we're going to do to help speed up the process. And I'll hit some of these areas that don't need as heavy of a shrink in them. You can use the shrinker stretcher in the shrinker with the shrinker jaws in it to shrink some of this. So I'm going in between these real heavy shrinks. I know that those heavy shrinks, I got to hammer them by hand to get them in. So I can kind of go, and I have a line here, my cutoff line that I showed you guys before. So what we're doing is we're kind of shrinking in the area where I'm going to actually be cutting it off. This one's not too big, so we can go over this one. So I can actually shrink in there, and it doesn't really matter because we're cutting off that excess.
If you get a little, can we show a section?
Yeah.
So they can see where it's getting flatter or less wavy, I should say.
Yeah. So you can see it's starting to smooth in there. Again, I'm staying at my cut line. So if this was a panel,
and those lights are too. Yeah, like in there you can kind of see. Oops,
Yeah.
There, it's smooth as opposed to.
yeah, it doesn't have
like
the ripples.
Those ripples. I'll give it back to you.
So the reason I was tuck shrinking is I can shrink a big area really quickly with the hammer, whereas if I have to go over it with the shrinker, I may have to work it a bunch, and it may cause it to work harder and actually crack or give me issues. So I worked that little area there. I'll hit a little area that we've already worked on the other side, and I'm going to I use this line that I drew to tell me that I don't want to go any further than that, so it helps you kind of keep it controlled in there. And that way you're going to get kind of the same throughout the panel. Any other questions, Scott, while I'm...
Sure, yeah. One of the ones is that Danny asked, is there a measurable difference in the metal to account for when you're getting your metal ready?
I'm sorry.
What?
Like, is there a measurable difference? Do you need to make sure you leave, you know, you're going to be trimming a bunch off? Like,
Oh, around the edges.
Oh, okay. It depends
okay.
on the panel, to be honest. So if I'm working a panel that is, so you can see it just in here. So if I'm working a panel that is larger, like say we did a little video where I did like a decklet skin, and I was turning the edges over. That panel I probably started with a good 6 inches extra around the edges, so that I could put some shape into it because I was, wheeling it up. But something like this, I'm only putting, you can see my cut mark here. It's probably easier to see because of the shrink marks. I'm only cutting, a little more than an inch off there, or about an inch off on the sides. I left excess. And the reason I did that on this particular panel is because that's where I'm doing a lot of my shrinking. So we're going to be cutting most of that off once I get the shape closer to where I want it, so that we don't see all those serrated marks there. We don't have to sand them out. We're just cutting them off, and the panel will already have the shape in the memory. But you can go larger than that. The only thing is when you have to do a lot of shrinking here, like the one we made the other time, I left more material on there, and I really had to hammer because I had to shrink a lot more material. So I only left about an inch or so on this one around the edges. So I don't have to move as much, I don't have to shrink as much material because that we're going to be cutting off. So I'll work a little more here.
And I mean, you're using a shrinker. There's also stretcher jaws for it that's going to do the opposite, stretch the metal.
Yeah.
And then and we also sell the smaller version. We have other versions of shrinkers and stretchers. I mean, this is the one that really moves metal, but there's the other set you see in our videos that we use all the time. The one that the vise mounted shrinker stretchers. So if you don't think you've got the room or whatever in your garage, we have smaller shrinker stretchers that are going to do the job too. Maybe not quite as quick.
Yeah, and these pieces, again, because we're trying to move it quickly, using the foot one. If you don't have somebody to help you, if you're doing a large panel, sometimes it's tough using the hand one, but it works completely fine. Works the same, just the depth is not quite as deep on it. So we're getting a little bit of shape in here. Again, there's 2 here. There's some right in here that have to be shrunk by hand. This in here definitely has to be done. Those few, you can see that one definitely needs it. So I'm going to need to hammer those out. But again, like I said, I opened this up so we can put this back on the bench.
Well, while you're Scott, do we have any more?
We're good on questions right now. There are definitely a lot of viewers. We had one of the highest ever. But speaking of metal shaping, anyone who's just tuning in, if you're anywhere near the Pennsylvania area, May 20th and 21st, Dean Winslow will be here. We're offering a class, so if you're interested, hop on our website, scroll to the bottom and click the Pottstown location. You'll be able to get their phone number, call them up. If you're interested, get yourself a slot in that class. Yeah,
and he's having a cruise in on Friday also, like a little meet and greet.
Yep. Yeah,
Friday the 19th out here.
It's free. Yeah, so you guys, you don't have to be in the class. So if you guys can't afford the class or you just can't make it scheduling, Gene's going to be here just hanging out. And
I believe the class is actually going to be right in here in this room. It's going to be like right here where we're at right now. It's going to be the Winfield class. So, come check it out on the 19th or sign up for his class at 21st.
And you get unlimited selfies on the Eastwood studio if you join that class. So you guys can load up on your Eastwood selfies.
Hey, you'll be here, right?
Yes, I will be hanging out. I'll be handing tools. I bow down to
so you get your selfies with Matt?
Yeah, selfie.
While you're
I don't
here?
do very good with those. But So, all right.
Scott, are you going to be here?
Sorry.
No, I won't be here for that.
Oh, man.
The lead tech isn't going to be
Maybe
here.
we could get at least a cardboard cutout of you in the corner if people wanted to get a selfie with you.
Sit over there. There you go.
Hey, did you sign any cans? Yesterday you said if anybody brought in their cans, you were signing them.
Nope.
No?
Oh, man.
I was hoping. So no autographs at Carlisle either?
No. Carlo's busy, though, which is good. It kept me busy and made the day go by quick.
That's good. So.
All right, so what I did is I had opened it up to put in an English wheel. So what I did is just, put some body pressure on it, put that curve back in it. So we have...
Crazy from what you started with.
Yeah, already it's starting to look like something, sort of. It needs a lot more shrinking on the edges. That's where all the time is I got to hammer out some on these edges. For instance, on this, you can see there's still some dents in here where we shrunk, but there's a little area there that needs to be just the area brought back out. So we're going to have to work back and forth. I'm going to shrink, stretch a little more in the center, and work it back and forth, doing the same process we just did over and over again. So you can knock out
It's only been half an hour.
Really?
Hey,
That's
you're doing
it.
pretty good.
That's surprising. So
I wasn't going to act surprised at you, but okay.
So yeah, so that's where we're at here. So I'm going to work on the next. Geez, you can't even see me, can you?
No. I think that's why the viewership was going up.
That's probably it. Yes.
But next Wednesday.
Yeah.
What's that date, Scott? What's next Wednesday?
No idea.
The 10th, right? What's today? The 2nd? So it'll be 8 days from now?
Today's the 2nd, yeah.
Okay, so the 10th. Next Wednesday, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, Matt's going to finish up that Fender. Right?
Yes.
And if you need any of these tools, the ones you've been seeing used, we got videos, and we've got links in YouTube and Facebook for the shrinker stretcher, the planishing hammer, which we'll be using next time, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're going to
planishing hammer, the English wheel, all the mallets, the panel beater bag, everything to get you started. So if you just click the link, the link's in the description or in the video. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll take you to eastwood.com where you can get more information on these. Even watch a video at eastwood.com. So
yeah, I think I'm good for now. I'm going to spend another few hours working on this.
Minutes.
Yeah, minutes. Another few minutes working on it. Yeah.
And then we'll pick up next weekend and show you how we finish it. I get to bead roll next week, right?
We'll see if we get that far. But yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, you know how picky I am with. We had it.
You might get to see me operate the bead roller.
Ooh.
So
yeah, we're going to try and get it as close as we can to that. We may not mirror polish it like this one is, but we'll
love the shape.
Yeah, we'll get the shape in next time, and then we'll show you guys how we did that little raised or made it look inset around there to give it a little.
And tomorrow, intro to TIG welding?
Yeah, we're going to show you
tomorrow,
guys.
Matt's going to do a TIG welding demonstration. If you have any questions, Scotty C, be over there answering questions, sending them to Matt. So if you have any questions about TIG welding, he's yet to be stumped. So, and that's only because if he doesn't know the answer, he asks Matt.
Exactly.
So that's how that works.
And I usually don't always know the answer.
There's a good one for Matt before we go, though.
Sure.
Mod Point Rods wants to know if you learned from anyone or if a lot of it was trial and error.
I took a lot of classes, just like Gene's class. I helped Gene out from time to time, so I've taken a bunch of his classes, helped him chop a car before in a car show. But Ron Cavell, we did a class here with Ron. Peter Thomas. Yeah, SEMA, we've done it a bunch of times. I'm always taking classes. I try and take a class once a year anymore, if I can. I took one most recently with Peter Tomasini to learn, just trying to learn different things. And then you've seen Mike Phillips do some of our videos. Mike is a friend of mine, and I go over and help him at the shop, and I'm always learning new stuff from different people.
Local.
So,
he's got a great English wheel, long English wheel video. So if you really want to learn about English wheel, we've got videos with Ron Cavell as well, and Gene Winfield, and Mike Phillips, all using these tools. So.
Yeah, so anybody, even people that are at the same skill level as yourself, you can learn from, because everybody's got little techniques or tips or tools that they figured out. So, just talking with friends, you can learn. So trial and error, though, in the end.
Anything else, Scott?
We're good.
All right. Well, then don't forget to join us tomorrow at 3. Matt's going to teach you a beginner's guide to TIG welding. And then next Wednesday, you can watch Matt finish up the Fender. So we'll see you guys then.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Let's get out of
See
here.
ya.